Welcome to the Summit on Southeast Sports Net. Hi, I'm Joey McWilliams, and I am glad that you are with me today. Our visit today is with the Conference Commissioner of Conference Carolinas, Chris Colvin. And Commissioner, I just wanted to start talking about something just directly involving your conference with all that's going on around us in the world and the ever-changing news cycle and ever-changing sports news cycle to go along with that. You all have put out that, hey, listen, we know that there are going to be some reductions in all sports, maximum and minimum number of contests in Division II for the 2020-2021 athletic year and academic year. And you all are going to put an emphasis on what you're doing within the conference, saying, hey, listen, we want to take care and see what we can do here within Conference Carolinas. Talk about that.
Sure, and you obviously summarized that well, but I think there's a couple different levels to this. First of all, our schools, like all schools across the country, are facing a dynamic where they do have to be very cost conscious going into this year. However, the value proposition of competing in intercollegiate athletics, the importance of having student athletes on their campus, the importance of having varsity athletics on the campus of all of our institution is incredibly important to each of our presidents, to each of our athletic directors, and the entire communities associated with all of those institutions. So when the NCAA came out with the decision last week that there was going to be a reduction in the maximum number of events that could be competed in within Division II, there wasn't a lot of concern or angst necessarily. And in fact, it was welcomed by a lot of our institutions in the area that, there can be some cost cutting. However, we wanted to take that approach and say, all right, but if we're going to cut, if we need to do that, it's going to be with some non-conference competition because we want to keep, as I mentioned before, that value proposition high for our student athletes. We want our student athletes to be excited about the fall, to be coming into the fall with an excitement of competing for that conference championship. And really that we want that to be the pinnacle of what our student athletes are striving for right now, especially with uncertainty as to what will NCAA championships look like, because what will it look like across the different regions in the country. Currently, it appears, at least that our region in the Southeast, our schools are in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee, that institutions here, we're fighting to open up. We're fighting to be open in the fall. We are planning right now on having intercollegiate athletics. Now, obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but that is our 100% absolute plan. And so what we wanted to do last week was come out with a statement that basically said that, you know what, yes, our teams are going to reduce some games in the non-conference, but we're going to still play our full conference schedule. And beyond that, we're going to still play a full conference tournament. We've seen a lot of maybe some of the mid-major Division I's that have come out with a reduction in conference tournaments. And part of the reason for there is because Division I isn't reducing their overall maximum, so there isn't as much of the ability to cut out of the non-conference. And we felt like we could really strategize and say, all right, if we're going to trim, let's trim and save resources in the non-conference, but let's still make sure that we have a great student-athlete experience, that they're still striving for that conference championship, and that our conference tournaments are intact. And so that is our 100% absolute plan. That's not going to change in terms of our desire and our plan and what to do. Now, circumstances around us could change, and we may have to change our plans at some point. But as of right now, that is absolutely what we're intending to do.
I understand. And Commissioner, that is a great focus to take care of business there and keeping the championship fields intact like that. I'm sure that's very encouraging for all of the programs across the board. You were talking about the 4 states that Conference Carolina encompasses in that. How's that been for you then? I mean, you're watching the news now for not just one little area. I mean, you have to watch for a 4-state encompassing area to take care of your conference properly.
Yeah, and we do it. And fortunately, there are, of course, 4 contiguous states that are all near each other. And for the most part, most of those states they're not on the exact same schedule, but they're on a similar schedule. So, if the fall athletic season were starting next week, we'd probably have some challenges right now with making that work. But the trajectory that the states are moving on, still being 3 months now, or less than 3 months away from student athletes on campus, but 3 months away, a little bit more for competition. We're continuing to monitor and work as best we can. But it at least appears that we're moving in the right direction. Now, at the same time, we're also working hard at coming up with the proper safety mechanisms that our institutions are going to put in place. All of our schools are going to have detailed plans. They're going to submit and share those plans with the other institutions within our conference so that one school knows what to expect when they go to another campus, and they can expect what that institution is doing and how they're going to be treated as a visiting team. So we're working on all of those plans. We're going to put in what we're deeming as practical and realistic standards across the board that all of our schools will follow, and that's still a work in progress over the summer. But those are the things that we're working towards to make sure that we can create as safe an environment as we can create. We're not going to be able to make it perfect, but at the same time, but we're going to create as safe as environment as we possibly can, and really try to allow our student athletes to have the experience that they signed up for when they decided to enroll at one of our institutions, and that's to compete at a high level, and let intercollegiate athletics really supplement and value their college education.
I'm sure it's a benefit too to have summer months then to still work out some of the kinks and get a lot of those things in place. Commissioner, one of the things that I thought was very promising, and I know that things like this are in the works for a long time prior to this, but in the month of April, you all announced the expansion of the conference and 2 new member universities coming in, right in the middle of all this that's going on. I thought that was just a great step to be able to make that announcement then and say, hey, listen, we're still going forward. Talk about the expansion of the conference.
Sure, we're really excited about that, obviously, and you're exactly right. I mean, those are discussions that had started long before we ever even knew what COVID or coronavirus pandemic was. But the bottom line, I took over as commissioner last summer, and one of the things that we really wanted to strive for is what can we do to make our conference better? What can we do to make our conference stronger? And adding Francis Marion University and the University of North Carolina Pembroke, we believe, does that. And so that's quite frankly the reason why they were added. They help us geographically. They help provide some geographic balance in our conference in terms of the split kind of in East and West. They'll give us now up to 13 members we'll have in the league next year. They're strong athletics programs. And then from their perspective, being in Conference Carolina has significantly cut down some of their travel expenses. So we think it's a good move, and we're excited about it. We're excited about having both those institutions in our league next year.
We're speaking now with Chris Colvin, who is the commissioner of Conference Carolinas. And Commissioner, I know as Limestone is moving out, then you have one less university for the coming athletic and academic year. But then after that, the 2 more. And then on top of that, in men's basketball in 2021, 2022, Converse is adding men's basketball as well. So, I mean, you're really growing that men's basketball tournament field, if you are, well, not tournament field, but field there, and lots of activity going on that side of the ball. Talk about Converse adding, and then, man, 3 new teams all at once.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the sport of men's basketball, we feel like that's one of the really strong sports in our conference. We have quite a few sports that compete really well on the regional and national level. Men's basketball is certainly one of them. We had a great season this past year. And you're exactly right. Adding somebody, UNC Pembroke won the Peach Belt regular season this year. Francis Marion's had a very strong basketball program, especially on the women's side, but they've got a strong basketball tradition. And then adding another institution in Converse, now we have that balance of the same number of men and women's teams in the sport of basketball. One of the big moves we made this past year was we moved our basketball championship to Spartanburg, South Carolina, at Wofford College in the new Jerry Richardson Indoor Stadium, which in reality is probably the nicest facility of its size in the country. And so we're excited to be able to use that facility as our championship, continue to grow that sport. But for Converse, it's not just men's basketball. Right. It's part of an institution-wide shift. This is an institution that for its entire history has been an all-women's institution, at least for its undergraduate programs. And they're adding men, and it's a dynamic shift for them. One of their key components of adding male students, of course, is to add male student athletes, and men's basketball is just one of the handful of sports that Converse is adding that will all be joining Conference Carolinas in 21-22. So yeah, we're at 11 institutions for this next year. 10 in a lot of those men's sports. But by the time we get to 21, 22, it's going to be exciting. We're growing, and both in the addition of the new schools and in Converse, and honestly, I believe what Converse is the decision they've made. I think it's going to be a very healthy decision for their institution. They have hired some phenomenal coaches across the board in all of the sports. Athletic director Jen Bell is doing a tremendous job at building that program, and I'm excited to see. It's almost like another new school as well. I mean, of course, Converse has been with us for a long time, but on the men's side, to have a new men's volleyball team, a new men's soccer team, a new men's basketball team, in addition to tennis and then the running sports, cross country, track and field.
And Converse is adding esports as well, along with those other things too. So yeah, they're just overall, it's a big deal. And I like the way you said that. It's almost like having a new school just from the men's sports coming in there. In light of that, and having now 13 teams within the conference, looking ahead, of course, obviously to 21, 22, will the conference tournament fields remain the same in number?
That's a good question. We're working through that right now. One of the things that we have a subcommittee of our ADs. We call it the Championships Committee, and that group is really working hard at thinking through what is the best tournament formats in terms of, do we want to stick with the traditional 1 against 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5, or are there some more creative formats we can use? Even to your point, an 8-team field with a 13-team conference, does it make sense in some sports to consider a 10-team field? So the bottom line is I don't have any answers right now, but those are things that we're working through, and we'll be taking some votes on this summer, and looking forward to announcing those when they're determined. But our priority is create a great championship experience for our student athletes, provide great venues to hold those championships, and then ultimately to be able to provide that experience to as many student athletes as we possibly can. And in fact, we're also working at the dynamic of that men's basketball championship that's at Wofford, which is like I said, just a first class, phenomenal facility. And we're trying to figure out, is there a way to bring a couple more than just the final 4 teams there? And we're still working with Wofford on those details, but there could be an opportunity to maybe expand that to 6, and we're working through those ideas. But it all just falls under the framework of trying to create as strong of a student athlete experience as possible for our student athletes.
And there's still time. Again, just like before, still time to work out some of the details and see what works best. Well, Commissioner, again, thank you for your time today. And as we wrap things up here on the summit on Southeast Sports Net, and I do encourage you all, please like and share these videos and subscribe to the channel as well.
Absolutely.
Talk about then the positive things. You wrap up the year, and I know that obviously, I mean, it is what it is. It's been the situation that I don't even want to name on YouTube right now. But the year didn't wrap up as well as what everyone wanted. But you all just announced the Joby Hahn Cup winners and talked about the success of programs within the conference, and talk about those winners.
Sure, absolutely. So the University of Mount Olive claimed the Joby Hahn Cup again for the second straight year, but we also break that up into the male side and the female side in terms of presenting a secondary award winner in terms of the strongest male athletic program, female athletic program, and Mount Olive claimed the female side, but we had a first-time winner in Emmanuel College out of Georgia who claimed the male Hahn Cup. So I know that was exciting for them, and obviously for Mount Olive to win it overall again. We had some debate when this whole thing started, and that is, do we still do an award like that because we didn't quite finish the season? And there's probably always going to be an asterisk on that particular year in the sense that was for winter and fall sports, but still, it was for winter and fall sports, and those sports happened, and those sports were completed, and so we wanted the opportunity to recognize and honor those institutions for their success, and we look forward to next year having a full year and being able to include the spring sports in that dynamic as well.
Commissioner, I agree with you entirely, and those athletes have worked hard through those winter and fall sports. So I commend you on not only a great decision, but the way the conference is going. It's in good hands, and success to you then in the upcoming 2020-2021 season as well.
All right, thank you very much. We look forward to it. Our goal As always, whether we're in the middle of a pandemic or in normal business, our goal at the conference is to help our institutions use athletics to further the mission of their institution, and that's what we're going to continue to try to do every day. And right now, the mission of that is trying to get them back out on the fields this fall, and we're going to do that in the safest ways we can. But we're optimistic, and we're striving every day to move in that direction.
Commissioner Chris Colvin, the Commissioner of Conference Carolinas, here today on the Summit. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Again, please do subscribe. I'm Joey McWilliams. God bless you, and have a great day.